All right, I'm going to call the October 3rd meeting to order. Tim was supposed to be here today, but he called his son was having some breathing difficulties, so they were going over to urgent care to take care of that. So he'll be fine. We have the approval of the minutes of September.
Make a motion to approve as drafted.
Can we have a second?
I'll second.
Colleen? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We'll skip the treasurer's report, go on to the solicitor's report.
Oh, sure. So just following the tracking sheet on the wireless communication ordinance, we're still waiting to hear back from the Cohen Group. I did reach out to him again to try to get an update, but I hadn't heard back before I left for the meeting. The next two ordinances are kind of together, the electric vehicle charging stations and the billboard ordinance. That was recirculated back in June. We did submit comments on behalf of Wrightstown to the other two municipalities. We're just waiting for updated comments from both Upper Makefield and Newtown. So I will send out an email just to follow up so that we can keep those two items moving. The parking for apartments, we talked about that a little bit last time. Nothing for us to do right now. We're just waiting for the developer and the township. The last item on here is the LIOLI overlay district. The original ordinance was adopted by all of the municipalities. The revised ordinance was reviewed by the county. It was reviewed by everybody's planning commission. We did get an A after the number, just so that we have a distinction. I made sure your name was added as a signature line. I apologize for that. And hearings are currently set, at Upper Makefield for October 15th, Wrightstown for October 21st, and Newtown for October 23rd. The first ad should have run on October 1st. So we're just gearing up to do that and get that ordinance in place. And that is it for right now. That's all I'm tracking. We don't have any other ordinances on the table right now.
All right, sounds good.
I have a question. The electric vehicle charging station, I don't think we have any other comments.
Okay.
You're waiting for comment?
I just didn't get a letter. Usually the solicitor sends me a letter and says it's been reviewed and there's no further comments. So.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Planner.
Yeah, hi. I was thinking about that. There's a project right now. I do have one little update I can, it's really not an update necessarily that's important, but the county does on the county's website, we do have the municipal directory. And when you go to each municipality, you can also scroll down and link to like the comp plans, the zoning ordinances. So we made sure that the updated comp plan comes up for all the municipalities, the three townships. I don't know if all the townships have the comp plan up with the current one now, the new one. But that's just in case you're not sure, if you want to follow up on it. And that's really all I have. I was thinking, since that project, a lot of times you do work on amendments. You're sort of taking care of that, but yeah, whatever comes along,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Our chief of police said you guys had some kind of report on the optimal number of policemen in each township. Is that available?
So, you know what, and I believe that's something Evan Stone, our director, has worked directly on. And I don't know the title of it, but it is like an assessment of like the state of, policing in Bucks County. I don't know if I know that a draft has been prepared, but I don't know if he's gotten the approval to release it yet, because I know it had to go back to like the group that he was working with. But I can follow up on that. I don't know if you recall, but a couple of years ago, he worked on a similar project with the fire like, sort of assessing the fire needs and, what was needed, for that as well. But I can follow up and check with you. I'll send an email out tomorrow.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Last I heard, it had gone back to like the group he's working with, the consortium or the committee. Sort of look at the final and get an okay from them that it's a, final.
Okay, great.
All right, new business, I threw an item on there, just for consideration. And maybe we don't do anything with it, but I did want to kind of just bring it up to everybody's attention. I was looking through, different ordinances, zoning ordinances, and I came across the Warrington Township zoning ordinance. And they actually, provide pictures, in their zoning ordinance. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen.
So you were just hanging out, reading.
In his spare time.
Yeah, my spare time, I got nothing better to do. I look at other people.
I've recently heard very good things about some of the moves that Warrington makes.
Yeah, so here,
Regarding chocolate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so here's, if I can make sure that it's gonna show properly, I hope, but here's an example where, again, this is the definition section. So they've got like above roof signs. So what they do is they give examples of, what they look like. Not everything has pictures, here.
I think a lot of them have to do with signs.
What signs? Okay.
Yeah. And in all honesty, the county prepared this because we did a complete overhaul of the entire zoning ordinance with the county's assistance.
Which zoning ordinance?
Warrington,
Okay,
their zoning, we did both, the zoning ordinance and the saldo.
in our ordinance, we have a section on signs, right?
Mhm.
And it says the maximum number of signs can be 2. You recall that?
Not off the top of my head, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Can you go back to the roof sign? Is that, I'm just wondering when
Now,
you're.
this is again, this is not our roof sign.
I know.
So hold on, let me,
Okay,
there you go.
so there's a roof sign and I don't know, there may be some signage in the window here about what they're offering,
Right.
that kind of stuff. We had a case where a application from a owner in a shopping center, they have a roof sign. And he wanted to put up a sign that said, deli, pastrami, whatever, okay? And he was denied because of the ordinance that he had too many signs or something like that.
Okay.
However, I'm just wondering how clear that ordinance is. Does it include the roof sign as when you count the number of signs?
It definitely should, yes. And so some ordinances though then have exceptions too for smaller like window signs, like, the hours of the business or the fact that they accept
Right.
credit cards or things like that.
Does this relate specifically to the reason you brought this up?
No.
No, it's
Oh.
something that has come up in Newtown. And
So
we have a zoning officer who is like a for hire hit person. Yeah, it's not an employee. And you pay them like over $300,000 a year, this company. And so we're just trying to make sure that the ordinance is handled in a fair way. Everybody plays by the same rules. I'm just, side note, sorry.
But just.
I'd like to know what his point of
Well,
bringing it up was.
if it was,
Oh, you got signs up there.
but if it was to get to people's attention about a specific issue, I think.
My purpose for doing this was say, hey, this is kind of nifty, it's kind of a neat best practice for, that I think Warrenton's doing.
So maybe in our
Hold on,
ordinance.
let me finish, John. Let me finish my train of thought before we get distracted again. So my thought is that maybe a project that we want to talk to the planning commission about is, to go through our zoning ordinance and see if there are places that we can improve the understanding of sections of the zoning ordinance by providing either pictures. I've seen diagrams and, all those kinds of things, in the warranty ordinance. It's not a critical thing, but it's kind of a nice to have to improve.
I think it would be helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there you go. Start with the sign section.
Well, and it is under bin list, just saying, sign ordinance general revisions.
I mean, to tell you the truth, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what is and is not allowed in terms of signs.
Right.
And
But John, I'm gonna challenge you in Newtown is that, originally, in fact, that's what this says. General sign ordinance revisions, and it has Newtown as, because Newtown had a concern about signs and, consistencies. And this is before you were on the board. And it was like Newtown is going to come back with some sort of proposal in terms of what they think.
I know a long time ago, we had an employee who was our zoning officer who said the signage ordinances are a mess, that it needs to be revised, but nothing ever happened. So I think that's what you're talking about. But this is something that keeps coming up. I know some companies that come before the zoning hearing board, they need a variance to have more than one sign. For example, Santander Bank moved into a shopping center and it asked for signage on its doors and windows. And I was like, why do they need that? Because practically every business has 2, 3, 4 signs in their windows. And I've never seen any business come before the zoning hearing board asking for a variance to do that. And so I was surprised that Santana, obviously they have better attorneys who know what the ordinance say. I'm just saying. Just saying.
What does Newtown want?
Well, I don't know. I'm just bringing it up, to see if people have any opinions. You're talking about improving the ordinance. Maybe that's the first step.
Well, from my perspective, I don't have a problem with the current sign regulations, right? Because at least in Wrightstown, we don't have a lot of turnover in sign, and the way the sign regulations are written, we seem to be okay. Now, again, if Upper Mayfield or Newtown shows that specific
You don't have to have a problem. You suggested perhaps maybe this ordinance can be improved. And it sounded like you said, maybe we should have some illustrations. So I just brought up one particular ordinance where I think illustrations and photos would be helpful. So I agree with you.
I agree with John.
Oh, that's be a first.
Well, I think it's a great idea to make it a lot clearer to businesses that
So
don't know what to do.
do we want to ask the planning commission to come back with a proposal in terms of?
would you imagine this would be something we would pay the planning commission to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
Unless you're volunteering your time.
As a person who is deeply attached to photographs, because that's how I make my money. No, but you.
I thought you were going to donate your services.
Yeah. I'd be curious how much it would cost to do something, so.
What exactly are we talking just about the signs, the article on signs? Are we talking about
I assumed you meant broader than signs. You meant any opportunity within.
I would, yeah, my would be, you know, I would like to see a more broad approach of looking at everything and seeing if there were ways of, you know, improving
Using
the
visuals.
understanding, the vision,
Not
yeah,
just
providing.
pictures, but
Yeah.
visuals anywhere.
So maybe to go back and sort of put together a list. Like, an outline of looking through the ordinance, maybe these are suggested areas where you might want to work on improving or updating.
Correct.
I'm sorry, Kathy.
No. So this is a question I would ask, I'm kind of, this is Newtown, so that mattress store that went into the shopping center and had the big flags out and everything, did you consider those signs? Is that
Which,
where the old toppers used to be?
I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Mattress
the
warehouse?
I think it's Mattress
Mattress.
Warehouse. They had,
Near the gap.
exactly. I mean, they were putting out in the parking lot area,
Oh,
side,
those signs.
flags, like big flags,
They did.
and then all of a sudden that stopped. And I was wondering, but maybe that should be addressed in the ordinance too, because that looked I mean, I personally thought it looked terrible.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but I would have to say.
I would second that, Kathleen, because if you go through this, there's like, they define, I think, a lot more signs than we might define, such as human billboard.
Okay.
They definitely cover those type of flags that you're talking about.
And those flags are in there. There's all kinds of different things that perhaps another like side project besides what could have an image would be, is there a type of sign that we're just not dealing with that we want to deal with in the ordinance?
Did you say those flags were gone now?
I haven't seen them and
I'm gonna go.
oh, yeah, I mean, I thought they were terrible. I thought this does not, maybe the shopping center made them take them down, but they were out there for a while and they were big
So
and they were
maybe it
red.
was our
Zoning
person, yes.
Yeah, because
I
I've been
know.
going to Acme and going to Pilates there. I'm on that little
Yeah.
strip there a lot
Yeah,
and they have been down.
This is a particular problem with Newtown having somebody from New Jersey
Ugh.
being our, whatever you call it. She doesn't have the time to go around looking. She doesn't do any of that.
Oh,
I was told that she only handles complaints if somebody makes a complaint. I mean, I can go out there and complain about all the businesses. I don't want to do that. I want businesses to know exactly what's allowed and what's not allowed. That's all.
well, then this would help a lot.
Yeah. And there's other things in the ordinance, I think, that could be looked at in a similar way. That might be less confusing with some imagery. Not necessarily photos, you're talking about illustrations, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'd be happy to do that after I retire, do some illustration work. I used to do that.
Are you donating your services?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Those two projects then, sounds like. The second one, oh, I thought you were saying,
I think like what Chester said was a holistic look at the
Yeah.
sign ordinance in general, right? Pretty much.
Well, the zoning ordinance.
The zoning
I think, in
ordinance,
general.
not just the signs,
Zoning ordinance that
Okay.
pertains to signs.
but then
Not just signs.
not just signs.
No,
Just sign.
the discussion is to look at everything for where illustrations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Additional illustrations too.
Yeah,
Yes, I see.
and as we're talking here, I mean, yeah, the science does seem to be a real confusion, you know, in terms, and so maybe, you know, having all these different examples of, you know, what's permitted, what's not permitted, and having examples of might make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Well, and just for example, another illustration that's in there, aside from just signs, is like defining what a corner lot is. And then on a corner lot, what's considered the side yard, the rear yard, the front yard, what a through lot is. Like there was illustrations in there of what those items are. So that if there became a question as to what's the front, what's the side, what's the rear, you have an illustration showing you. I don't know if you can think of any more, Lisa, but I know that's one of the other illustrations that's in there.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen that going way back in ordinances at times. It seemed like at some point, a lot of ordinances, when they were updated, took illustrations out, and I don't really know why, because I remember seeing more years ago. But yeah, like the setbacks, how you measure lot width, that vary for various types of lots, that kind of thing, yeah. So I think there's a lot of opportunity if you want to add that stuff, to clarify some of the definitions and what's meant.
Yeah, there was another issue, for example, trucks, parking to block at the near intersections, blocking the line of sight. How far does the truck have to be parked from the intersection? If they had, I've seen an illustration of it somewhere, but I'm not sure it's in the ordinance itself.
Their site triangle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
that might reach over into the saldos though. And not the zoning, but understood.
We've had businesses buy an old van and put their name all over the side of it and just park in the parking lot.
That's a sign.
But
They
it's
do.
not covered in the ordinance.
Well, yes, it is. Wow, we have a case. Uh-huh. Oh, we have a second case now in front of the Commonwealth Court about that very issue.
From Bryson specifically?
Yep.
Going on for about 8 years now.
Yep. First it was a vehicle and then it was a trailer that had advertising on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I used to see, when I used to go through Newtown and like at the bagel place that used to be in the old, in the McCaffrey Shopping Center. They used to always bring their bagel vehicle and park it right up near the road, you know, in such a way that it basically was advertising at that point. And you're not supposed to be doing that. I mean, it's okay to have, you know, logos and stuff in the, you know, on your vehicles, but if you position your vehicle in such a way that, you know, you're basically turning it into a billboard, you know, that's an issue. So had they parked their vehicle by their store, it would have been perfectly acceptable. And in our case, they're parking it right on the street in such a way that it's another episode. So,
I feel like I should be opening my eyes. I don't notice any of this. So I guess I should.
I'm almost impressed with the creativity.
There's so many signs,
Well,
you buy.
I mean,
don't even bother to look at
I'm
them.
confused.
What do you say?
Yeah.
Signs are everywhere?
so I'm going to ask Lisa to do two things. One, to come up with a proposal. And then also to come up with, you were really good the last time, find a funding source. Because it wouldn't surprise me that this is not be a cheap process.
Yeah.
I mean, to get some, you know, for the planning commission to go through it, to revise it. And even, you know, when you make these changes, you know, you're recodifying. So instead of recodifying, you know, 10 pages in the zoning ordinance, you know, we may land up having to redo, you know, like, you know, the whole zoning ordinance. So those are all, you know, additional costs. So you could come up with a funding source.
Okay, so, in terms of a proposal, I guess the first thing would be. I'm just thinking, so really, we're talking about a proposal to review and update the zoning.
Correct.
Okay.
To provide illustrations and pictures and maybe we spend a little more time with the sign section and try to come up with something that may work a little bit better.
Circles and arrows. You don't know Alice's restaurant. It's an oldie.
Okay, so based on that, we'll put something together, a proposal. And then I'll do some research on funding sources. And one that comes to mind is what we just did, because the MAP grant will cover zoning. As a matter of fact, I know our office got a MAP grant for ACOP. And, trying to think of where else, maybe it was just Haycock zoning ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing a wholesale review, right?
But I'll look, I mean, maybe there's other opportunities too, but that's the one that comes to mind. And that is, I believe it's like a rolling, if we were to pursue something like that one, it's a rolling, application for the grant, but I believe they sort of they choose their grant recipients 2 times a year in the spring and the fall. So at this point, I would think it would be too late for the fall. I don't know, I mean, I could follow up and check with them, but just because with that, you want to try to get letters of endorsement and that kind of thing to include in the application.
But in this Warrington case here, it was only in the glossary where they had this, they had images throughout the zoning ordinance.
It was prime, well, it was, I didn't look through the whole zoning ordinance. I mean, it was in the definition section. You were solicitor there.
I only remember them being mostly in the definitions. I don't remember them there, but in the saldo, there was more. That goes along with it. I don't think there was only in the definitions for the saldo. I think there was more spread out in that ordinance, but the zoning. I
That's
think it's
just one model. Maybe you need to find other models that you can go after and see how other townships.
In terms of looking at like the whole ordinance,
Yeah.
where,
If there's any other ordinance where, what particular topics are they putting illustrations in, I don't know. You don't want to reinvent the wheel, basically, I guess.
Yeah.
Good idea, Chester.
Good discussion.
Keep watching that, keep looking at all that.
That's what I do early.
Somebody's got to do it.
Early in the morning when I got nothing better to do, I look at it. No, I don't. I went to warning for something, warranting for something. And it was just that I saw that. I didn't specifically go.
Okay, Jess.
I just. Hey, you know what? When I first became a supervisor, I sat around and that's what I used to do, is just read the zoning ordinance. I read it backwards and forwards half a dozen times.
I still remember that far back.
Yeah, I even have the original ones. All right. Privilege of the floor, anything? All right, no public comment. So right now, I guess, so our next meeting is scheduled for November the 7th. I guess the question is, are we going to need a meeting? That's,
Well, my question would be for Lisa, do you think you would be able to have a proposal ready by then?
I can try, I will try for sure, 7. I mean, ideally, I would like to give you it ahead of time, right? But I can do my best and try.
or again, or just, if you get it to us in December, I mean, that's fine too. I don't, again, there's nothing critical here, so it's not like it has to be done today, but it's,
My goal will be to try to get it done for the meeting if we have it or if we don't in November.
So there might not be a meeting in November then, right?
I'm asking a question because again, it's gonna be pretty,
If there's nothing on the agenda, I don't.
Well, there's all these hearings for the LIOLI in October,
but that's in the townships.
but then we would know what the results of the hearings were.
I sure hope they were yes.
Yeah.
What happens after that? I mean,
Yeah, since the last township adopts it, the ordinance is in effect
is that right?
automatically. So then it goes up to the codifier.
So there's nothing we need to decide here about that.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that Dave Sanders sends the electric vehicle charging station.
On the billboard.
We don't, the billboard, that's, for some reason, we have trouble with that because we're waiting for one of our planners to, well, our planner, Michelle Fountain, to come up with a spot that's, you know, someplace out of the way. So she hasn't done that yet. So, yes. But we haven't had a planning commission meeting in a while too, so.
All right, so we'll play it by ear then. If there's stuff, we'll meet. If not, we won't, so. I'm good. All right, no public comment, I guess. So we'll need a motion to adjourn. So move. We have a second. Second. All in favor?
That's one everyone seconds.
Motion carried. Have a good one.